Hey guys, welcome to 6 Minutes for Monday, October 17th. Jason Fulmore, SE Wrestle, and today we are talking what you should know from this past weekend's Super 32. So one of the reasons this is a little late on a Monday, and another reason why I don't have any actual footage from the event was that I wasn't able to actually make it. I had work things come up today, and it was necessary for me to be out of town to handle those things. But fortunately, Saturday and Sunday, even though I wasn't able to travel, I still was able to watch a ton of matches on Flow, which for those of you who don't have that history of going back to the 1990s, early 2000s, 1980s certainly, you don't know what a luxury that is. To be able to watch Cooper Haas and Dylan Gilcher live while that match is going on. I actually was probably able to see far more matches as a result of being able to just stream them online and follow all day Saturday and all day Sunday than I would have been had I been actually at the tournament. Now, I still would rather be at the tournament, but there are benefits to both of those situations. As a result, you won't get a whole lot of clips here, unlike I've been doing with the Elite Eight and the Grappler Fall Classic and everything else. This is going to be a straight breakdown of the Super 32. If you have a Plus subscription to the website, much of what I'm going to talk about right now, I've already written and posted in the Plus part of the website. So maybe you don't even need to watch. But if you don't, and I know a lot of people don't, these are kind of my takeaways from the tournament this weekend. First takeaway, we didn't have a Super 32 high school boys champion for the first time in maybe half a decade. Last year we were treated to Cody Chittum, Singleton, Chase Horn. The year before that, I know Cooper Flynn won, Caleb Henson, Caden McCrary. Before that, we had Bretley Reyna and maybe a number of others. I'm not sure about 2019, but it was 2018 was the last time we didn't have in the Southeast a champion. And not only did we not have a champion, we didn't actually even have a finalist from the Southeast in the 2022 version of Super 32. Not to say that there wasn't some great wrestling, not to say that several individuals made really good runs to a belt, but as a whole, the 6 states that we cover for SC Wrestle did not actually end up being able to get into that final match. There was some great wrestling, some outstanding wrestling all weekend long, and we're going to touch on a few of those names. Now, just because we didn't, as a for the high school boys, earn a belt, high school girls got 2, and Tennessee girls were fantastic. Piper Fowler took care of business at 160 pounds. I'm trying to remember what the girls' weight classes are now. And took Rebush, pretty much to task. I watched that match. It was fantastic. Fowler was unbelievable. She beat her, I think, 11-4. Rebush was in the Who's Number 1 with Jasmine Robin.
Fowler takes another leg attack here. Two confirmed. Makes it 9-4. Half. Looking for the fall.
And Fowler looked absolutely fantastic. She was joined on the top of the podium by Ella Murphy from Tennessee as well. And Ella won the 195-pound title with, I think she had 3 consecutive pins to take the title at 195. So while the boys didn't get into the finals or take home a belt, the girls, and certainly the Tennessee girls, showed out and had a really, really good run. It wasn't just those two. Big shout out to Maggie Graham as well, who made a run at, I think, 148 pounds, made the finals, but lost to, I think it was Skylar Slade in the finals there. But, I mean, fantastic run by the Tennessee girls. And I think Diamond Young also was a Super 32 All-American up at 195. So they had 4 with 2 champs, 1 runner-up. Tennessee girls were really, really strong this weekend. On the boys' side, let's flip back over there. Probably the name that stood out the most, and there were a lot to pick from, but the one was the super sophomore from Jensen Beach, Florida, and that was Sebastian DeJaneiro. Sebastian wrestled unbelievably. In fact, he took care of Cooper Hilton in, I believe it was the quarters, 5-1. I watched that match.
His turn on top. Hilton returned, and then DeJaneiro earned himself a pair of backs on a beautiful return right to a tilt. And DeJaneiro will get hit for stalling.
And, I mean, was just super. You just wrestled really, really well. His only loss came to Bo Bassett in the semifinals. But otherwise, you know, he beat Louis Gill. He beat Jaden James of New Jersey. Sebastian DeJaneiro, from his Elite Eight competition, where he was fantastic, to this weekend at Super 32, showed he deserves as much consideration for a top 10, top 5, honestly, ranking as anyone in the Southeast. He wrestled absolutely fantastic. 2 other Floridians that wrestled exceptionally well were Joe Seeley and Cooper Haas. Now, Joe Seeley, Floridian, yeah, I know. North Carolina, really. He's back up at Wyoming Sem. So it's kind of hard to call him a Floridian, although he spent much of the last few months down in Florida. I think he's now back up at Pennsylvania. He was a 1 seed at 160. He did take 3rd at 160, losing to eventual champ Joey Blaze in the semifinals. But he wrestled really, really well. In fact, except for that loss, Seeley was on fire. He wrestled exceptionally well. Go back and watch any of his matches. And, yeah, he was certainly amongst the best 160s around. Joey Blaze just really came to compete in that semifinal. And I think he beat him 4-3. And then Cooper Haas from Osceola. Cooper had some really close matches in the quarters, in the round of 16 and the quarters. He ended up getting Dylan Gilcher from Michigan in the semis. Lucas De Silva was on that call. I watched it live. It was fantastic. I think it was Gilcher's takedown at the end of the first period that really didn't afford Cooper the opportunity to get up and get one for an escape. Ended up coming down 4-3. Cooper had his foot on the gas.
Redragged, leg attack there for a moment. Down blocked away though. A minute 12 to go in the period. Now Hospital to use that front headlock. That's a beautiful shock. That shock was beautiful. Went backdoor option as well with it. And he'll cut the lead to 1.
Looked like he was going to come back and actually get the win there. You know, and Gilcher would end up going on and winning the Super 32 belt. So Cooper Haas is right there. Certainly demonstrated at Elite 8. He's amongst the best 138s around. And now at Super 32, he demonstrated he was one of the best 145s in the country as well. So absolutely fantastic. A little tip of the cap as we pivot now to a couple of the middle schoolers: Araya Mills, Ace Chittum, Soto Rivera, Seamus Reagan, Kyron Vasquez. They all placed for the Southeast down in the middle school group. And don't think that that's not a tough thing to do, because that actually is a tough tournament. Go watch those middle schoolers wrestle, and I'm not big into paying any attention to somebody who's lower than high school age, because I think they're still developing. I think it should be fun, all those different things. But those 5 really wrestled exceptionally well, and it's definitely important to tip a cap to them. A few other girls that I think we should talk about very quickly. Georgia had a few. Jade Massa, and she lost really early. In fact, she lost in the first round to Ella Murphy in the 195-pound bracket, and then came back all the way through, took third, beat, I think, her teammate, Phoebe Melvin, for third and fourth at 195. And Georgia's Genevieve Vaughn, 148 was a fantastic weight class. Some outstanding competition. Beat some really, really good wrestlers. She lost to Skylar Slade 5-3 in the quarters, bounced back, beat her fellow Georgian, Raven Cook, as well as Kaylee Davis, before losing to Nebi Sarni from Maryland. And Sarni, at least, is a one-time Fargo champion. Again, 148 was a super deep weight class. And I think she finished 5th overall. A pretty good run. I know she certainly was hoping to be champion, and she lost to the eventual champion, Slade, 5-3. But right there, just so close to being able to push through. North Carolina had 2 on the podium. Jayolana Kang, and I'm so sorry if I slaughtered the name, took 6th at 97, and Reagan Smith was 6th at 195. And then we already talked about Diamond Young for Tennessee, and those Tennessee girls really, really wrestled well. There were other SE wrestlers, Southeast wrestlers, Dirty South wrestlers that made the top 8. Antonio Mills, I think, was the only freshman to make the top 8. He battled all the way back. He was the 8th seed at 106 pounds, and he finished 8th. Jake Krapps made the semis at 120 pounds. Before losing to Jordan Rainey in the semis. And then he dropped his next 2 matches to Milani and Kilcary to take 6th. Brian Berberesia, Florida, wrestled exceptionally well. Came in as the 11th seed, just like Cooper Haas was the 11th seed. He lost a really close 3-2 decision to eventual runner-up Aiden Sinclair of Wisconsin, but wrestled super well, especially in his blood round match. Would have been pretty, not easy, but he had to battle through to even make the podium at 195 pounds. We had a few heavyweights from the Southeast wrestle exceptionally well. Austin Foy, Palmetto Ridge in Florida, battled through and took 5th. His only 2 losses came to Matt Moore and Aiden Atau from Idaho. 2 nationally ranked 285s, and Austin Foy really wrestled well. Finished ahead of Nathan Carnes, who also placed, and Nelson Toro, who also placed from Florida. 285 had 3, I think, Southeast wrestlers make the podium, which is fantastic. So, and then probably the one match that a lot of Georgia wrestlers and Georgia people were paying attention to was Dominic Bambinelli and Latrell Schaefer. Bambinelli Schaefer ended up after, 9 matches throughout the course of the tournament. The 2 end up meeting one another in the match for 5th and 6th place at 152 pounds. Latrell got the takedown in the first, then was able to get an escape in the beginning of the third, held Bambinelli down the entire second period, I think. go up 3-0. Bambinelli turned it on a little bit there at the end, but Luttrell ended up getting the win and a solid win, 5-2. I believe it was 5-2 win. And for Georgia Grappler, who I think put Dominic Bambinelli in their pound-per-pound rankings, number 1, might need to pivot now and move Latrell Schaefer right to the top because that was a fantastic match. You should definitely, if you have Flow Wrestling and you have an opportunity, go back and watch those two compete. They are fantastic on their feet, and it was a lot of fun watching the two of them compete. The last thing we're going to talk about real quick are the bracket busters. These are the individuals who were unseeded coming into the tournament but wrestled exceptionally well. And I don't want to take a whole lot of time going into a whole lot of detail. I go a lot more detail in the actual article. But these are individuals who wrestled exceptionally well. And that is Jojo Urchuk at 106. I think he finished 5-2. Had some really, really good wins. Mason Jacob, a freshman from Tennessee at 113, came within 2 matches of making the top 8. Beat Gabriel Telez of Southwest Miami in Florida, a Florida State champion. Mason Jacob's a freshman. He's a freshman that was close to making the podium at 113. Outstanding run. Colt Brown and Caleb Urchek, both at 120, made very good runs. And Jarvis Little at 126 pounds for Tennessee also made a really good run. If you've noticed, Tennessee girls did really well. We got several of these bracket busters from Tennessee. Tennessee is turning it on, really wrestling exceptionally well. And I personally credit that to the work that group is putting in. You've got Sean Russell up there. You've got Zeke Moisey up there. You've got the Christian Brothers crew, the Summit crew, all across the state. They're really being competitive. Baylor crew, Cleveland crew, obviously. So you got some really, really good wrestling happening in Tennessee. At 132, we had a trio from the Southeast. Isaiah Poe, Blue Stifler from Georgia, and Aldo Hernandez of North Carolina all wrestled exceptionally well. Definitely a tip of the cap to the 3 of them, who all came within, I think, a match of the blood round. Could have made the top 8 in a super tough 132. They didn't, but we're right there. At 138, you had Luke Belcher from Tennessee and Isaiah Wysong from South Carolina. Both of them wrestled exceptionally well as well in getting themselves through the consolation side of the bracket. 145, we just mentioned the Cleveland and Tennessee. Well, tip of the cap to Logan Fowler, who wrestled really, really well. Fowler had some really good matches. He lost early. That's so hard. He lost in a round of 128. Boy, had to really fight back to even get himself in position to get close to the podium. Finished 4-2. Tough to lose that early in the tournament. At 145, also Johnny Maldonado wrestled exceptionally well. Lost 2-1 to Jaden Robinson. Beat North Carolina's Hunter Clark. Beat Georgia's Tyler Xavier McKnight. Again, battled through, but in a tough, deep weight class, you cannot afford to lose early and make your way back through in the top 8, not unless you're willing to pull off like 6 or 7 wins against some of the best competition around. At 152, 2 Florida wrestlers, Kendrick Hodge and Adrian Ochoa, both wrestled exceptionally well, marched their way back through, but did not obviously make the top 8 again. In fact, there was only one unseeded wrestler that made the top 8 from the Southeast, and we'll get to him in just a second. Creed Thomas at 160 wrestled again really, really well. Came back through 2 matches from the podium, 1 match from Blood Round. I think he finished 5-2 on the day. So really good wins. Close again, but just missed out. Adrian Bruneau from Tennessee at 170. Bruneau came so close. He actually lost in the Blood Round. Both of his losses came to wrestlers who made the podium. So that is how close Brno is. And it was a 1-0 loss to Wojcinski. I don't know how to say the name, from Illinois on the front side. Otherwise, Brno probably ends up on the podium. He was 5-2. And again, another Tennessee wrestler wrestling exceptionally well. At 182, Nicholas Moscalino from North Carolina had a really good run. Ended up 4-2. Tomas Brooker, also from North Carolina, at 195. He beat Drayshawn Ross, who I believe was a Fargo champ at 16U, 4-3 to begin the tournament. Then beat Calvin Lockman 5-1 before losing to Brian Barberesia. And then he lost he got pinned, but it was a close match to a kid from Utah on the backside. Kyle Oliveira from Alabama, Anthony Lowe from Georgia at 220. Both marched their way back through, weren't able to make the podium, but came close. And our last one is Nathan Carnes from North Carolina at 285. Carnes was unseeded and made the podium, the only unseeded wrestler from the Southeast to make the podium. Carnes struggled at Elite Eight a bit. He took some losses that he feels like he should have won. Well, guess what? He showed that he definitely belonged at Super 32. His only two losses were to Adnan Ateo in the round of 16. He had a and I don't remember who he lost to, the other one. And then he actually had a win, a nationally ranked win over Max Asiardi from New Jersey. I believe that was in the blood round to make the top 8. So it was a really good run. There are tons of wrestlers who wrestled well. Super 32 is exceptionally difficult. It is not surprising that 2-2, 1-2, 3-2. You should know what those expectations are, what your goals are. Everybody wants to walk home with a belt. This is a tournament where there are going to be wrestlers who excel at the next level who never won a Super 32 belt. It just happens. So, anyway, congratulations to everyone who competed this past weekend. I'm looking forward to breaking down a few other numbers, maybe all those unseeded wrestlers, the number ones versus number twos, all of that tomorrow. And then we begin to pivot. We're getting ready for the season, and we'll start dropping some season previews for across the Southeast here in the next few weeks. And if you get a chance, you should join me in Jacksonville on November 5th for Campbell, UTC, Wisconsin, Arkansas, Little Rock, Buffalo. Trying to remember the other teams that are there. Yeah, it's going to be great. November 5th, if you're within driving distance of Jacksonville, Florida, you should certainly drop in for what should be a really great day of college wrestling that we don't get very much here in the Southeast. So anyway, you guys have a wonderful day, and sorry I missed you at Super 32, and hope to see you soon. You guys take care. See ya.